Elogia of Prim is easily Dax's favorite Cardassian writer. Quark's Kanar has gone bad, and Cardassians believe that males do not make good engineers. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Nice. What's up, everybody? Hello.
My name's Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine's Season 3, Episode 15, called Destiny. It's directed by a person that always makes me smile when I see it, Mr. Les Landau. How are you today? This is the next
one, huh?
Yep.
Didn't pay attention to that.
Or as we like to call him, Morris Les Landau.
Morris Les. Can't help you on that.
It's only going to get worse from here, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah. Also, quick shout out to Cirroc's sister. She has a store called Abyssinian Kiosk. She makes that awesome shirt. You see Cirroc wearing it sometimes. You see me wearing it sometimes. Also, our associate producers. Sometimes you can get it in any array of colors. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Check out abyssiniankiosk.com. We will include it in the comments below. In the description box below and the comments. So please check that out. Order a shirt or a mug. Pick your colors and wear it with pride because it looks amazing. Show it one more time.
Yeah, I actually have one on too. This is a different one, but
yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah,
a little bit different, but she's got all kinds of selections. So
I see Madagascar hanging off the side there.
Yeah, the island.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, everything's good. I really like this episode, this Destiny episode. I thought it was packed with a lot of things. I know you want to get into it, but I just really think might as well, right? I think this thing was really packed with a lot of good stuff, and it was, to me, it fits the blueprint of the kind of episodes that we're starting to come to expect from DS9, which is these episodes that tell so much of a story, but also have this parallel to just things that provoke thought and make you question, the way we, as a society, kind of process information and deal with prophecy and all of these kinds of things. I think it's an excellent episode.
Yeah, I guess we might as well just dive right into that, which is the kind of the main theme. And that's what makes another reason why Star Trek is so good, is because they love to raise these kind of philosophical or political or social issues. And they love to not dictate the answer to you. They just love to say, here's the issue viewed from a different perspective, from a sci-fi perspective or an alien perspective, so that you can look at it through fresh eyes and you can make of it what you will. And, there are a lot of people, I see this in groups all the time, where people say something to the effect of, there's no religion in Star Trek, or religion doesn't exist in Star Trek, which makes you think immediately, did you even watch 7 years of Deep Space Nine? Do you know who the emissary is? Like, the whole point is Star Trek does tackle the, religion and philosophy and all those kind of things. But they kind of leave it up to us to decide, is Sisko the emissary, or is it all just a series of coincidences and false beliefs, or, and this episode really dives into that stuff in such a fun way. And a little later on, I kind of wanted to get into something called the Nostradamus effect too. But let's talk about the religious aspect. What did you think of, what was his name? Vedic Yarka popping in it. I should look up who the actor is, by the way. I recognize the actor. He's great.
Yeah, his name is Eric Avari.
Okay.
And I thought he did a very good job. I've seen him many times in, different things. He has that familiar face.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like the way he did this character. What is the character's name?
Vedic Yarka.
Yarka, yeah, Vedic Yarka. I like it because he has really strong convictions in this, and his strong convictions actually challenge Kira's belief system, and it has this domino effect of now questioning Sisko's beliefs. And to me, that's what somebody who has strong convictions does. They actually awaken either the person to agree with them or disagree with them, or start to engage in a dialogue. And I think that's one thing that he did well by projecting his strong convictions onto Kira, onto Sisko, to get the ball rolling in this kind of idea of what prophecy is about and how it is interpreted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right away, my first thought when he popped in was, when he comes in and he says, whatever he has to say, and he said, even the Kai herself gives me my backing, or is, backing this. And my first thought was, well, why didn't they just have Kai Wynn come in and do it? But then, then I thought, was she just not, scheduling didn't work, so they had to make up a secondary character or something? But then kind of lets us know why, which was that, he's kind of like a disgraced Vedic. He's actually no longer a Vedic as of 2 months ago. So that's why. But then I started thinking, well, why was she backing it then? Who knows? It's all so confusing. Those Bajorans and their rascally religion.
Yeah, but one thing that wasn't touched upon in this particular thing is this kind of butterfly effect that happens. So him informing Sisko and Kira actually alters the course of events in itself, and then the decisions they make going forward also alters the course of events as they continue to go along. So I think that's one of the things that they don't really talk about much, but he's instrumental in the decision-making process, or informing the decision-making process going forward. And I think that the writers did a very good job at kind of talking about the idea of interpretation. And I think that's really one of the critical and key elements that they tackled in this particular episode. I personally walked away with it wasn't so much that the prophecy was incorrect, but it more so that it's incorrectly interpreted.
Right. And also, what you're touching on right before that was like a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is something that the prophecy in itself kind of creates the domino effect. Kind of like if somebody says, hey, you need to be really careful about India. You're going to have a war with India in like 5 years, right? And then what does that do? That makes, your military watch India very closely and have heightened tensions and this and that, which would eventually possibly create a war with India. Would they have had the war with India had they not mentioned it? Probably not. Who knows? But it's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies in some ways that kind of creates a situation in which that domino starts to fall and leads into that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I thought that was really good is the way that Vedic Yarka he kind of activates Kira's spiritual and religious side, where we always see that she is passionate about her political convictions and where she stands, in Bajor's affairs when it comes to Cardassia. But we don't see her so much engaged in the spiritual aspect of the Bajoran people, which is, the other side of it. She's more on the practical side and not the spiritual side.
Right.
And in this part, she starts to really engage in that and question. And I like that.
Yeah, she. We keep talking about the evolution of Kira's character, who, she may have the biggest evolution, or like the top 3 biggest character arcs. And this is another one of those tiny little flashpoints in which she's now taking a slight change from all military, all business, all politics, just make it happen, into, well, yeah, I guess I kind of do believe he might be the emissary, kind of, like little bits where she, she's softening up to Odo a little bit. She's softening up to Sisko a little bit. She's revealing her beliefs a little bit. She's really in this 3rd season having a lot of minor changes that are leading to a really big arc.
In addition to that, I felt like Odo and Sisko had a very big breakthrough moment in this episode where I felt like Odo really opened up to Sisko and was honest with him to a level that we haven't seen before this. And specifically when he starts to talk about agenda and
Right. Yeah, that's great.
that agenda conversation that he has with Sisko, where he basically says, well, you have an agenda too. And he reveals that he's been observing Sisko's behavior, right? So that's the first part we never really got any insight on how Odo views Sisko. And this is a very intimate look on how he's been observing his behavior and how he thinks his agenda is to absolve himself of the title of an emissary, how he doesn't want anything to do with the being the emissary. He doesn't judge him for it. He just identifies that as being the case, right?
Yeah, he says, your desire to distance yourself from the title of emissary. And then he also says, all humanoids have an agenda of some sort. And that was what was good about that to me, was when he said, something about your agenda. Like, a lot of times I can guess where Star Trek is going. We understand the themes. We know it well. I don't remember these first few seasons episodes well enough to remember exactly what happens, but I've seen enough Star Trek to know kind of what the themes are. And this was another one of those where it did surprise me a little bit, because he said your agenda, and I was thinking, what's his agenda? And then when he says your desire to distance yourself from the title of emissary, it's like, good one, Star Trek. I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't considered that one. And it works.
And it's true. And I hadn't thought of it either. And I was thinking, what is Odo going to say right now? What is he going to accuse Sisko's agenda? What is he going to say his agenda is? But then when he does reveal that it is to kind of distance himself from the title of emissary, that makes sense to me. And it is accurate, because that is what Sisko does not want. He doesn't want to be a religious figure or icon. He doesn't want to be worshipped in any type of way. He wants to just, he mentioned there was a nice line where he was saying, where you see stars, I see a comet. Where you see the emissary, I see a Starfleet officer. And I like that too. I like the way he was kind of going through the motions of saying, this is my perspective. I know you guys are trying to throw this on me, and I'm the power, the chosen one. But and this is where another breakthrough scene I think happened too, which was the scene with Dax, where Sisko and Dax had a moment, and you can tell that now Dax was, kind of saying to him, "Are you going to let the prophecy make your decisions, or are you yourself going to make the decisions?"
Right.
And that was
that was the turning point right there.
Right.
That's when he like closed the book. He's like, all right, gotcha.
And I like that. I also like that scene between Dax and Sisko, another kind of elevation in their relationship, which I felt was a real milestone at least for me, having more insight into how they communicate with each other and how other characters are there for Sisko, because he's usually there for other people. But in this particular episode, he's the one kind of getting the counseling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There were just so many great moments and little subtle changes in there. And there was that moment when I'll tell you when I figured out what the trick was when they're in the Gamma Quadrant and they said the three comets, or the three fragments, are still headed for the wormhole. I was like, I got it. The three fragments are the Vipers, and the wormhole is the nest in the sky. I get it. At that point I got it. And it's okay. It didn't necessarily need to be a surprise throughout. But there's also something called the Nostradamus effect, which is if somebody makes thousands of predictions, and one of them can be interpreted as coming true, suddenly they're this great, all-seeing, all-knowing thing, where it's like if every single day I told somebody, it's going to rain today, it's going to rain today, or whatever, and then eventually it rains. They're like, whoa, Ryan totally knew it was going to rain. Nobody else did. And then you sound like some kind of prophet, but really you just make a bunch of outlandish claims or veiled predictions, like when they say and I think this was kind of a little take on Nostradamus, because Nostradamus used to write in these quatrains, French quatrains to boot, and he wrote them in metaphor and all these different kinds of ways of saying it rather than just saying it directly, because that was during the Roman Empire and he didn't want to get killed for being a witch or whatever like that. So that's why this guy is saying the vipers and the nest in the sky, rather than just saying 3 comets or whatever he would think it is, 3 rocks in the sky will land in a celestial thing. So maybe that's why he was using all these weird metaphors or something like that. But I did notice the Nostradamus thing in there.
I noticed the Nostradamus thing. Actually wrote it in my notes as well, and I think there's a whole lot more in that we can get into with the Nostradamus thing. So yes, how he would write in his quatrains was very ambiguous. For example, he would say the twin brothers of York will fall in the new millennium.
Yeah.
So, you could say, for example, people have said, oh, the twin brothers of York are the twin towers in New York in the new millennium and this and that. And so therefore the prophecy has come true.
Right.
And that's why I think what the writers did well was explain how translation and interpretation can alter the meaning. I thought that there was a moment in this particular episode where Kira was being really honest with Sisko, and he's like, "All right, so tell me what you believe. You think I'm the emissary?" And he says, "Well, explain it to me how you think it is." And she says, "Well," and her rationale was, "There, the prophets are timeless beings that have no, understanding of time." And it would be easy for them to transmit a message to somebody 3,000 years ago and give them something that would eventually occur. So, and she was making a pretty valid argument, I thought, for why she thought it would make sense that somebody could look into the future 3,000 years from now, right?
Right. And what she was giving was a scientific answer to a potentially spiritual question. They're saying, how else could somebody possibly know? Oh, if your science is so smart, how do you explain this? And well, there is a scientific explanation potentially right there.
Which I thought was very well argued on her behalf. Mm-hmm. She didn't just go into just pure belief. She gave a very reasonable way in which it could possibly happen, right? A timeless alien entity that knocks over clipboards with notes on it.
It's mad at you. It's like, stop talking about me. I'm not timeless. Right? I just experience it differently.
Exactly. But then Sisko counters her rationale, which is another thing that I enjoyed in this particular thing. And that's where he says, well, the text has been translated and passed down, which is also another valid scientific argument. Now, these things I would also, you mentioned Nostradamus, but I go to the Bible and,
exactly.
And the Bible,
It's been translated a million times over from different people, and it's a bunch of different writers all put together. And that's why there's so many ways that these things could be interpreted. It seems like it's giving very exact and clear things, but what if when it says, for example, man, you think it means, well, they're talking about men. But what if he just means like mankind, like man, like humans? Then it's not a specifically a gender specific thing. It's just talking about people in general, for example.
Yeah. And so that to me is very good. They had a very good kind of debate about just an intellectual way to perceive. And her way of perceiving it was, hey, it is possible. It's within the realm of possibility that these entities can move through time, experience time differently, and um, impose a revelation on somebody so that they have the foresight to know what was going to happen. Sisko's counter to that was, well, the texts that you're talking about have been translated and retranslated and passed down over thousands of years. And, like the game of telephone, what was originally meant to be said is not what comes out on the receiving end. So, very good arguments, in my opinion, for both rationales, for both of their perspectives. And that's why actually those are the kinds of discussions that I think lead to growth. When somebody has a emotionless, kind of very rational way of perceiving and arguing and presenting your point. To
Totally.
me, I love that balance. So there were some very good scenes with Kira and Sisko, Odo and Sisko, and Dax and Sisko in this episode.
Let's not pretend that there wasn't a great scene between O'Brien and that Cardassian lady. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that on the other side of this thing. What was her name? Which one was it?
Galora. Her name was Galora.
Yeah, Galora. You're right. Yeah, boy, oh boy, was that that's a nice, juicy, meaty chunk to enjoy there. Also, one or two NAMs to discuss. And on the other side, we'll also talk about the cutting room floor of the Trivioids. But before we go to the other side, very quickly, let's give a shout out to everybody that we normally see at Star Trek Las Vegas. These people that we know and love that come and go every year. We see them. It's like a family reunion without the awkwardness. And right now we're not in Star Trek Las Vegas. We're all at home. We're all doing, whatever we're doing, whether it's quarantining or, working from home or whatever. And these are great people. We love them all. And it's just kind of a bummer not to see them, So we wanted to give a shout out to all of them, right? Lots of smiling faces.
Yeah, this is that time of year, always around my birthday, that we all gather together and are in the physical presence of each other. And the big thing about doing the virtual TrekCon was to kind of bring us together again so that we wouldn't have such a void. And I think that was well accomplished. But yes, big shout out to all the people that we normally see around this time. And we are hoping and keeping our fingers crossed that next year we can make up for the lost time.
Yeah, and we're going to name them all right now. No, I'm just kidding.
After the break.
Yeah. Also, a shout out to Creation Entertainment because, look, yes, it's a business, but bottom line is they're the ones that have been bringing us together for however many years and decades. So shout out to Creation Entertainment and all the good people that run that convention, because without them, we would not know each other. So thanks very much to them.
Thank you.
That's it. Let's flip over the other side. We'll be right back on the Seventh Rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very special edition of the Seventh Rule. We are reviewing Deep Space Nine Season 3, Episode 15, Destiny, No Child, directed by Les Landau. And it's a fun one. You're finding more and more that Cirroc and I are big hippies that love to talk about like history and Nostradamus and philosophy and stuff like that. So we try to keep it mostly about Star Trek, but we can get lost, and we got way more to talk about in that regard. But first, we've got a few Trivioids to discuss. Not even discuss. Let's just throw them out and move along. Number one, Quark has to cancel his bullfights. Quark's Kanar has gone bad. Vedic Yarka gives Sisko a stern warning. Elogia of Prim is easily Dax's favorite Cardassian writer. By the way, Prim, what does Prim make you think? Let's talk about Prim in just a second. Kira calls a comet a sword of stars. Cardassians believe that males don't make good engineers. And maybe the best line, where the lady says, I took your overt irritability toward me as a signal you wanted to pursue some sort of physical relationship. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that a little later because we'll get to it. What does Elogia of Prim make you think of? Prim.
Prim makes me think of the Prim outlets in Las Vegas. I think there's something
Yeah,
Prim.
what it is Prim is the first city in Nevada when you're driving from LA. The second you cross into the Nevada border, some people had the idea to say, you know what? Why don't I build a casino right here so that people that are like, I just can't wait another, 40 minutes to get to Vegas. I'm just going to
Yeah.
stop here and get this terrible buffet of Buffalo Bills or whatever it is and gamble here. So that's when I heard the name Prim, I was like, oh, it made me miss Vegas even more. Star Trek Las Vegas.
Yeah. So you thought of the exact same thing I thought of. When that's what Prim makes me think of. But there's one thing that I think you left out on your you know how you do your openings.
Yeah,
I thought you would mention that Morn got food poisoned at quarters.
Right, that's a good one. I forgot about that one. And she's like, I never thought anything could slow him down or whatever it was.
Yeah, so he got a little non-appearance mention in this particular episode.
You are so right. Let me add that. I didn't put that as a NAM. Now, what do you think about the other NAMs? We know there was a NAM for Keiko because at the end the lady says, Gamora or whatever her name is, Galadriel, Galora says,
Glorious.
Yeah, she says, what's your wife's name? And he says Keiko, and she says, a lucky woman. Gives him a little smooch. So that's a NAM for Keiko. But is there a NAM for Molly when she grabs his hand and she tries to, hook up with
wife and kid?
Yeah, he says, I've already got, because she says, I'm very fertile, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, And he's like, I've already got a child and a wife. What do you think? Is that a NAM for Molly?
Yes, it is a NAM.
Nice.
I would say so. Yes.
Let's do it.
And that particular Kardashian, she was very attractive.
For a Cardi.
Yeah, she was very attractive for a Kardashian. She had very beautiful eyes, and they shone through in that particular episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I think her name is Tracy Scoggins, but I don't want to misquote. But the actresses that played
and I've heard of her actually. Yeah.
Yes, Tracy Scoggins. She's really amazing. We also had Wendy Robbie and Jessica Hendra as the other two Kardashian female liaisons. But Tracy Scoggins, seen her at many different conventions. She's a very beautiful woman and has great performance in this particular episode, especially with her eyes, which are extremely powerful and convey the sexual tensions that were existing there between her and O'Brien. So I thought she did a fantastic job and should get a little bit of credit and highlight in this moment.
Right. So here are some shows that you may know her from. Dynasty, and especially you may have seen her at conventions because she was in Babylon 5, 21 episodes of Babylon 5s. She was in Lonesome Dove, which was another series. Lois and Clark was another big one. She was in a show, it's a video game called Snow Job.
Okay.
That's all. What? Also, something called Hawaiian Heat. So lots of series, lots of cool. And T.J. Hooker, starring William Shatner.
Yeah, so she's a very accomplished actress, and I thought that her role here in particular was extra special, and I think that she was really made it very believable. The two initial Kardashian scientists that came aboard, I thought were very good.
Right.
And then the last one was also good, but not as much to do in this episode. But Tracy Scoggins, she's phenomenal, and I really enjoyed the chemistry between her and Chief O'Brien in this one. And it's funny because when you see the chauvinism out of its context, which is what we're used to seeing it
It
in the
shows
male way,
how ridiculous it is.
it shows how ridiculous it is, right? When you see
It
it in,
puts a giant flashlight right in the face of it.
yeah, and that's what another thing that Star Trek does so well. They just flip the script just so subtly that it's like, okay, well, the thing that you're used to seeing all the time, what if we reverse it and it's like this? Are
Mhm.
you still okay? Are you still okay with it? You know,
Right. Now, the funny thing is that when she said, "Oh, men don't make good engineers," we would think, this is what we like to think as evolved human beings. We like to think that we go, "Oh, I totally understand that. We've had similar feelings about women in the past, but the truth is blah blah blah." Right? But no, he's like, "What bullshit? I'm agreeing." It's all like, "What the hell? What are you talking about? That's
Yeah,
ridiculous. I'm
yeah,
fine."
yeah, and it's funny because it also I wrote down here that culture isn't how much culture is an element that defines our behavior
Hmm.
as a species. And so it's not just the fact that you have different genetic material and so your skin looks differently and you have more reptilian look, but it's also culturally how that society acts. And clearly, culturally, as an upbringing, they believe that women are better in sciences and therefore, leave that responsibility to them, and men are, less proficient and should be going to fetch some red tea for me,
Hey, good knowledge. Wow, nice throwback to Ducat. Red leaf
so
tea, yeah.
yeah, so I just felt like, okay, um, culture is such a driving force in how we behave with one another,
Right.
and that is another thing that is pretty obvious in this episode.
Now, there's another thing real quick that I just kind of thought of is, I mean, they're aliens. They're completely different race. Maybe women are much better scientists in Cardassia. That to us it sounds ridiculous, but who knows? Maybe men are dolts when it comes to science. Maybe they're
I
just
mean,
brute fighters, and that's it. They don't have like the scientific thought. They're just better with militaristic analysis rather than scientific. And the women are like, you guys go enjoy your hammers and guns, and we'll handle the microscopes and stuff. So that's another possibility.
it is, but I really liked your first analogy when you said, "Hey, you know what? Our culture has thought this kind of way about people before, so I totally understand the
Right.
misconception." That
Mhm.
to me is like a really articulate way to kind of draw parallels between the two
That's how we hope we would
species.
react in
Mhm.
faced into that kind of situation.
Right.
Mhm.
Um, but it's funny because O'Brien is getting his manhood checked so many times in this. He's like, I designed that. I did that. I'm the one
Yeah,
that did the. What
yeah.
do you mean? She's like, oh, how stupid. he's
She's
and
like, but lucky for you, I'm very fertile and willing to hook it up.
yeah. Well, it's funny because I felt like when once he took control and asserted himself, that was the moment where she was attracted to him, right? So it was like as soon as he said, "Why don't you hand me that laser and I can do it and I'll show you, I know what to do to fix these problems." That's when I felt the switch happen. Now she's like, "Oh, wow, this guy is not a dumb, he's not as like all the other
Or
dumb
maybe
men
she
that I
was
used."
just like, or maybe she was just like, oh my God, that is so cute that he's trying so hard right now. That is adorable. Look at how much he takes pride in his little, what a little
Yeah,
scrapper.
you're holding the tool wrong. No,
I built
but
the tool.
I'll bet the tool. It was a smart decision. But no, I really like, and that was one thing that was also good about this episode is that you had so many different storylines that made
Right.
sense and that worked for me. Right, I like the little offshoot of O'Brien. I like the offshoot of Quark in his dinar and hustling and being excited about the presence of these Cardassians and how they would multiply and make him rich. And everybody had their own kind of agenda, right?
Hmm. Right.
Which would have been a great name for this episode as well, right? Because it felt like that's what this episode was about, agenda.
Hmm.
Even Vedic the Vedic that originally comes in to warn everybody, Vedic Yarka, he had his own agenda, right? He had the peace treaty that he was working on. He wanted to reinstate his legitimacy as a Vedic. So he's working with a set of agendas too, right? His own set of agendas.
They should have called him Vedic Yarka sauce. No, like a yamak sauce. No,
Yeah,
that doesn't.
No, we had enough
stayed
yamak
in my head. Enough yamak sauce.
But no, I wanted to bring back something else that you mentioned. First of all, the Vedic, when he was talking with Kira, had a line that I wanted to highlight really quickly, and that was, he says to her, "Without your faith, what do you have left?" And there's always lines like these in these episodes that are just like, you can walk away with and say, all right, what were the writers, this is something that the writers were trying to say. They wanted to say this specifically because they wrote it just like that. And so there it is. Without your faith, what do you have left? That's an important distinction for me, that really questioned Kira's motives at that time,
right? Especially for Kira as a character and for Deep Space Nine as a series, because it is very much about, their faith, whether it's their Bajoran faith and whether it's their faith in each other or their faith in what they're doing is right. It's, there's a lot of faith that's put into this series.
Absolutely. And then the other thing I wanted to just kind of double back on was the Nostradamus.
Right.
Because I actually wrote that in my notes as well. And the thing that I wrote down was Napoleon. And from what I understand and what I've read, Napoleon was aware of Nostradamus's predictions and his quatrains, and was a very big fan of the material. And he actually envisioned himself as being one of the people fulfilling the prophecies inside of Nostradamus's quatrains. So he, at some point, was acting in order to fulfill the prophecies that he had studied, right? And so we talk about the self-fulfilling prophecies, and what are the decisions that we make. Are we making them based on the prophecies? Are we making them based on our own independent choices, right?
Right. Are we checking out that prophecy and saying, you know what? I think I'm the guy he's talking about. I want to be the guy he's talking about. So that means if he's talking about me, then that means I'm going to be successful in whatever the thing is that they're trying to do. They'll kind of do a little bit of mental gymnastics to try to fit themselves into that puzzle piece, and then believe that means they can't lose. They're going to conquer whatever it is they're trying to conquer, or do whatever it is they're trying to do.
Right. It says it's a guy who comes from this part. I'm from this part. Right?
Must be me. I'm the only guy from that part that I know.
Exactly. And so I just thought that that's interesting, because they do use that in that same rationale in this particular episode, which is, and you see it, Sisko resisting it as opposed to embracing it. In the Napoleon way, Napoleon was embracing the prophecy that Nostradamus had written and was trying to fulfill that prophecy. In this episode, Sisko is not embracing it. He's trying to go away from it, get away from it, and not be the person who is being talked about.
Right. And a lot of people in his position would have said, huh. And a lot of just people in general, we see these kind of things and we go, okay, let me keep an eye on that, just in case there's some sort of truth or validity to it. This wacky guy is saying some wacky things from some old guy way back in the day. Who knows? Probably nothing. But let's keep an eye on it just in case there's something somewhere that connects to some truth. And they explained exactly why he was not like that, was not because he's just closed-minded, but because he was just deliberately resisting being, the emissary. He's just he's deliberately trying to not embrace that aspect of kind of his job description at this point.
which is interesting to me because the entire series starts on the emissary episode,
Mhm.
which is called The Emissary, right?
Right.
And in that episode, if I recall correctly, he actually gets visited by the prophets who have this conversation about what is the meaning of time and what is this, and he essentially has interaction with these godlike
Right.
Bajoran gods, right?
Mhm.
So you would think that he's more inclined to believe that he is the emissary based on the fact that he's actually had a personal interaction with these
Yeah.
prophets or with the gods.
Mhm. The
Uh,
wormhole aliens.
the wormhole alien. So that's kind of, it's a little bit weird for me how he's still questioning it after he. It's like, if I'm an atheist, but then God visits me in a dream of some sort, then I wouldn't wake up and still be an atheist. I wouldn't say, "Oh, I question whether I would actually have a personal reason to believe just the opposite," right?
Yeah, you'd be
Um,
like, dude, aliens came in the form of a god.
exactly. So, so that's interesting to me how he's still resisting something that he's actually seen firsthand that is real, right? It's not like it's an abstract thing that nobody's seen, nobody knows about. No, he actually has had interaction with it. So that's interesting to me. But at the end of this episode, you can see how his curiosity has completely peaked, right?
Hmm.
Um, he tells the Vedic at the very end, "Tell me about the fourth prophecy. What is the fourth prophecy? What does it say? What does it say I'm going to do?"
Yeah, I
Right?
mean, just out of curiosity, because I don't feel like looking it up.
Exactly. Um, so I think this episode was a really good episode in overall.
I agree. It was it there are a few things that I can nitpick. There are a few things that kind of popped up, but and when it started off, it didn't seem terribly interesting to me,
Not from the beginning. No, the teaser wasn't much of a teaser.
right?
Uh,
But then towards the end, we get it. We understand the theme they're trying to bring up, and they never do it heavy-handed. At least not the '90s Star Trek that we know and love. They were never heavy-handed about it. It presents something from a different angle, and we think about it, and those are the kind of things that last for decades. That's why we can still talk about it decades later, is because when you present an issue, but you don't it's not super heavy handed and you're not fully giving the answer, you're just kind of saying, well, what do you think? That's something that's timeless. That's something that is still relevant today, and sometimes even more so today than before, because they're not just saying, Nostradamus was real or God doesn't exist or something, because then, okay, you're done. The conversation's over. They just open up a conversation that we can discuss, forever. And I found it really interesting. Um,
yeah,
also,
and yeah, just to piggyback on that, it's more like they're not telling you what to think,
mhm,
except that they're telling you to think,
right,
and that's the beauty of what we're watching on on these very good episodes. They're not saying one way or the other preaching to you. They're just encouraging you to question and think for yourself, which is why we walk away feeling satisfied or feeling like, oh, let me think. That reminds me of Nostradamus, or that reminds me of this, and that reminds me of that, because we are thinking. You
right.
know,
You know what I tell you would be the greatest hope would be, if I were a writer writing this kind of stuff, to me, what I think would be the biggest win is if there was a guy that was super religious and he watched this episode and he was like, no, no, it's all science explained. They said the wormhole aliens, it all makes sense. It's all science explained. And then you got a guy that's like total atheist and watched this thing and was like, dude, obviously the guy predicted this or something, where they totally saw the other
Mhm.
side just based on this episode. That would be a gold mine, like a life gold mine if you could achieve that as a writer.
And I think they have achieved it in many ways for a long list of things that they have done, addressing sexuality, addressing
Hmm.
being in war, and all of the things that they've talked about. I think that they have spark that level of thought in a lot of people. And that's why people relate to it so much. You know, there's so much there that people can say, "Oh yeah, that personally affects me because it's something that my own life experiences can confirm and validate."
Hmm. And you know, we've got about 5 minutes left. A lot more to discuss. Some super quick hits. We got a couple rules of acquisition.
Yes.
War is good for business. Number 34, number 35. Peace is good for business. Those are two of the favorites.
Yes.
Also, I really like the line where, you know, we touched on it, but she says when Galora says, you know, you have very steady hands. And she says, I assure you, I'm quite fertile. And he, of course, he says, what are you talking about? Like, why have you been leading me to believe that you wanted me? It's like, all we've done is argue. But then when he says, I already have a child already and a wife, and she says, you know, but you were being a jerk. That made me moist or whatever. And I thought
Yeah, I think those.
your overt or irritability towards me as a signal that you want to pursue something. Anyway, the point is, what he said that cracked me up was he says, yeah, I'm not even remotely interested in you. And she got all mad. She's like, well, you could just finish this without you then.
Yeah, that was a little bit insensitive the way he came over the top with that one. But there were, I mean, there was moments in their little banter that was hilarious. He said something to the effect of, she said something, and he says, "Yes, my hands can get the job done." And I was like, he's walking into
Yeah,
that
and then
one.
she says, I'm sure you can complete the job on your own.
Yeah, well, he offended her by that point.
Yeah.
And it's funny how, like, we know O'Brien to have this really kind of deep-seated hatred for the Kardashians.
That's
right?
true.
So that's something we've known that prior to this point. And so when you see him getting hit on by, and I would say an attractive Kardashian, like to me, she was an attractive version of a Kardashian. You know,
Version.
I mean, I'm sure there are all kinds of them, but
say that next time to a woman. You're an attractive version of a lady.
I like you as a species. No, I think that, you know, he was insensitive to her, but at the same time, you know, it's funny because he's the only married one on the show, and it feels like he's always having to claim his wife. Like, no, I'm married. You know.
Yeah.
I think he's done it before in the past, where him and Siddiq Bashir were on that one particular place, and the women were offered to them. Do you remember that episode?
No.
They said, oh, they were on some planet surface, and they were being offered women basically, and he had to like say, you know, I'm married, kind of a deal.
By the way, non-appearance, non-mention, non-anything for Bashir today.
Oh yeah, he was.
But it's because they had 4 new characters brought in, you know, the 3 Kardashian ladies and the Vedek. So, you know, they didn't want it to get too crowded. There really wasn't much for him in this episode, so it definitely made sense that he was not in it because there was just too many soups or too many cooks in that kitchen.
Yeah. Plus, O'Brien doesn't get much screen time up, and you know, there's episodes that go by where we really miss him, and I was happy to see him get this much screen time. It was funny seeing him in Quark's bar when they were on that kind of diplomatic, you know, dinner, and he's there with Dax. And the look on his face was like he just didn't want to be there. He was so annoyed by the conversation, and he felt so excluded. And I just love that look on his face. He's so good at looking irritated.
Yeah. What's the male version of resting bitch face? Because he's got that.
Yeah,
he's got resting grump face or resting frump face.
Yeah, he's got it down packed. When he doesn't want to be there, he lets it be known.
He's got resting hungover face.
Yeah, he's got it. But yeah, I think we covered a lot of it. I mean, oh, there was also one thing. It was seeing Dax inside of the captain's chair of the
Right.
Defiant. When Kira says, "I want to go with you." It was the first time that I can recall that Dax is actually, commanding the ship.
I think so too. Another couple quick things too. I did notice that Vedic Yarka called Kira child. Just like Kai Wynn does. So I was like, oh, that was fun. A couple little nitpicks was that when they first gave the prediction, the prophecy, he said the 3 vipers will return. I'm like, how do the Bajorans know what vipers are? Aren't they aliens?
Mm-hmm.
These are just little things where I'm like, how do they know what a viper is? And why would somebody 3,000 years ago say the word viper when vipers probably can't exist? It's a different planet. The other one was, why did Sisko and Kira take the shuttlecraft when it seemed like the correct answer would be O'Brien and one of the Cardassian scientists would be the right people to handle a scientific shuttlecraft mission, and leaving the 2 top-ranking people out of harm's way because they're going into some risky business. So that was just another little thing. But, of course, it just works for the story, so you try not to think about it too much.
Yeah, I rationalized it in my own way as Sisko wanting to take responsibility because he felt responsible for this whole thing unfolding in the way it did, and he wanted to be the one to end it.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I'm the emissary. The wormhole aliens are going to make sure I don't get hurt. I'll be fine. Kira, I can't vouch for you, but I'll be fine.
I'll make it.
So we're just about out of time here. Let's give a quick shout out to the coolest people in the world: Carmen Shamwell, TJ Tomas, TJ Jackson-Bey, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon. I knew it. Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England out in the Isle of Wight, and Marie Segal in the Isle of Manhattan, Titus Mohler, and Tim Baum. Everybody stay tuned for the free-for-all, which is coming up next, and we'll see you on the other side. Always remember the 7th rule. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 7th rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We're joined by Tim Baum, Eve England out in the Isle of Wight, Anne-Marie Segal, not on an island, Homer Frizzell, TJ Jackson-Bey. Oh yeah, you're right, Manhattan, right?
Yep.
All right, on an island as well. Tim Baum is almost on an island. He's on a virtual island. And by the way, everybody, we're celebrating Cirroc Lofton's birthday this weekend. It's going to be a crazy party. Happy birthday.
Yeah, yes. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate the love. I see some really good shirts out there. Ryan, you got a nice shirt on. I haven't seen that one on yet.
Thank you.
I think. There you go.
That is from Cirroc's sister, and it is AbyssinianKiosk.com. You can get all kinds of different colors and flavors and scents. It's kind of like those old scratch and sniff stickers we used to have as kids.
So it's Eve's.
Yeah,
it looks beautiful.
And Eve's is all.
Eve, she's great with the color selection.
I know, I love it.
I love the style.
Beautiful.
And I'm trying to get the yellow and black one that I saw Homer have. That's another one I'm still looking to get.
Black and yellow.
Black and yellow, black and yellow.
And we will include that link in the description box below, guys. So please check it out. Cirroc's sister makes them, and they're awesome.
Well, it looks like we just got a bingo square.
Oh, man, that's so funny. Those of you watching, check out the 7th Rule group. You'll see that a bingo card was made by Mohammed Noor, with some consulting by Anne-Marie Segal and probably others. And it's the ceiling fan is the middle square. That's all you need to know about
space.
that. So this is what I wanted to talk about. Since it's Cirroc's birthday today, he's turning 27, actually, the big 27 today.
Yes,
so I want to ask, what is the best Star Trek-related birthday gift you've gotten, or just gift if there hasn't been a Star Trek gift? And we are going to start with Homer because he already knows. I guess I read that wrong, didn't I?
You did. You did. I was thinking, okay, everybody else is going to go. I'm going to have some time to think about this. I think it's the gift of permission. So that Melissa has let me, for example, go on the cruise. She let me go to Star Trek Las Vegas. And that is amazing. I have asked her to come with me for both of those things. And she wasn't able to join, whether it was dance or whether she just didn't want to really be in Vegas for all that time during a Star Trek convention. So that's what I'm going with.
Does she like Star Trek?
She does. She's into Discovery and Picard. She hasn't seen Lower Decks yet.
Has she seen the older stuff?
She's seen a couple episodes of the original series and 3 or 4 of DS9.
Okay.
Now, do you have to strap her down in the chair when she watches it? Or do you set things and say...
It's more like I can get you some ice cream if you'd like.
There you go.
Bribery.
Incentivize. Yeah.
I'll do the dishes. Yeah.
That's bold.
Yeah. But as far as Discovery, I don't have to do anything. She wants to see them. In fact, I think we've watched both season 1 together twice and season 2 just the one time. But we have them on the Blu-ray, so we'll be going back through those.
So Discovery is more of her favorite than Picard at this point?
Discovery is her favorite, if I had to pick one.
Yeah.
And I think it's one where, you discover it pretty much the same time as someone else, excuse the discover pun, and you are learning about it at the same time as everyone else, so you don't feel like you're left behind.
Right.
And it takes place, or was taking place, before the original series, so you didn't really need to know that so much, and they kind of brought you along and introduced you to everything as you went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely don't need to have any prior Star Trek knowledge to watch Discovery, because they kind of hit the reset button on a lot of things. She's like, "Oh, those are Klingons, huh?" And you're like, "Well, kind. Yeah, I get. Let's go with that."
Exactly.
It's better that way.
Well, Pike was a
TJ?
good character. I'm probably sure she likes Pike.
She does. Yeah, Pike's great. She likes Burnham.
Yeah, she'll roll right into Strange New Worlds, and
a lot of people love
I
Pike.
can't wait for that.
Yeah.
TJ, do you have a favorite Star Trek gift that you've received?
Let's see. So my sister knows that I love Star Trek very much, and so she usually will send me like a Star Trek related card or something. And so I got one with like the stars or like glittery sparkle. What do they call it? Not glam or something.
Bedazzle.
Bedazzle, yes. So it's all bedazzled.
It was just a guess.
With the stars, and it has like the original Enterprise on it. And then when you open it up, it plays the theme music.
Ooh.
And then on the last birthday, Facebook gave me a reminder of a post that she did a few years back to wish me a happy birthday. And it was all like Star Trek'd out, but the music was Star Wars. So that was
the thought that counts.
Great. Yeah. She's great. She always gives me good birthday stuff. She got me a few books that I asked for as well, Star Trek related. So yeah, she keeps me trekked up.
Anne Marie has alerted us to the fact that you are pretty badass on the Twitter machine, as the kids say. This guy's got some great tweets. He's active. He's smart and funny. We love it.
Follow
the
me
kids say.
at TJ the Greatest without the T at the end.
TJ the Greatest.
TJ the Greatest.
Yes, I was robbed of the T, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, Tim, what about you? Any thoughts on this?
Well, I'm going to show my age. '71 or '72, I received a Starfleet technical manual.
Wow.
And I still got it somewhere. I took it to a con and got Major Barrett's signature and Marina Sirtis. Ooh.
Amazing.
So, but I remember as a kid just reading that thing over and over and over again and memorizing everything.
No way. Do you still have some of it memorized, like a little factoid for us?
Nope.
You got the signatures memorized.
Yeah.
I have the most obscure. Yeah. I have the most obscure factoid in the entire world for Star Trek. So Star Trek Generations. What was the shield frequency?
0.179. No, I have no idea.
That's close. 257.4. And if that ever comes up on a trivia, I will be the only one that wins.
I don't know, man. I feel like other people might know it.
I feel like you're right. Like, yeah, there's some way better trivia than me, but I can hold my own.
That's pretty awesome. Marina Kravchuk will know that one.
Yeah.
Maybe. Wow. So next time we do a trivia night with Dan Mason, we'll be like, dude, ask about the frequency of the show. Nobody will know it. Wait, Eve, when you guys are saying, just kidding or whatever, do you guys wink or do you guys do what the Germans do, which is like this?
Yeah, no, we don't do that. No, we wink.
I do this.
Like Dr. Evil?
Yes.
We tend not to wink or do anything, and you just have to try to work out whether we're being sarcastic or not, and that just keeps hanging. I think that's what British people do. Yeah.
That's tough with British people, though.
Gotta keep it hanging.
I think I would enjoy that.
Doesn't this mean something bad? Or, doesn't that mean we got to get rid of this guy?
I thought that was this.
That's what it was. Okay.
Well, Eve, do you have any fun gifts that you've received that are Star Trek related?
No, because to be honest, I buy my own gift when it comes to I buy my own cool Star Trek stuff. But I'll probably, if I have to say, sort of give an answer, I'll probably go with a similar response to Homer's, I think, and just, I have to sort of thank James for reintroducing me to Deep Space Nine, because then I wouldn't be enjoying all of this cool Star Trek stuff now, I don't think, had I not got back into that. So that is a great gift. So I'll have to thank him for that. But yeah, all of the other cool stuff I buy, I just buy myself. So I treat myself.
Do you ever get yourself your own Christmas gift or anything like that?
Well, it's worse. I make a list of all the things, and then James can pick out of the list. So this is kind of surprise. I don't know what.
I love that.
And then you're always happy. So yeah.
She has a registry for her birthday. That's pretty awesome. I'm gonna have to try that one.
That's a great idea.
Then you always have you don't have a gift that you're like, oh yeah, this is amazing, and you hate it, and you never, it's a waste of money. So
right, but you're still partially surprised because like you didn't pick the exact one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unless the list has the same thing written like 5 times on it. Earrings.
Well, Anne-Marie, that leads us to you.
It's a tie. Last summer for my birthday, I got to meet you and Aaron in Las Vegas.
Woo!
And
you didn't meet Cirroc?
That was for your birthday?
Yeah, because my birthday is August 2nd. So it was during STLV last year.
Oh, happy birthday, Anne-Marie.
Thank you. And then this year, my brother Dan got me a Star Trek piano music book, which is waiting downstairs for me in the mailroom. I'm super excited.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Piano music book. Is that with the music in it so you can play it?
Yeah.
All right, you play the piano.
Mm-hmm. So that's a thoughtful gift.
Yeah. That is nice.
Yeah. And then I got myself a Deep Space Nine cuff from Walking Art made by Melissa.
Show it off. Let's see it.
Well, I don't have it yet. It's in the mail. Or it's pending arrival.
That's pretty cool, though. That's kind of like a gift to yourself that your very first Star Trek Las Vegas was on your birthday.
Yeah, I got there on my birthday, and then I met you and Aaron and Homer at Klingon karaoke that night.
How come I wasn't there? I felt like I was there.
I think I had just missed you.
Uh-oh. There we go. TJ, we got you on 2 screens now.
Ooh, fun. Which one's Mirror Universe?
Let's see if this will do it. Got you on your computer and on your phone, so you got to close one out.
Oh, it's got the Nog background.
There we go. All better. Much better.
Nice.
Well, Cirroc, what about you? What's your do you have a favorite birthday gift that might be Star Trek related? We usually go to Star Trek Las Vegas right around your birthday, so you celebrate it in Vegas.
I do. It usually falls on my birthday, on or about. But I think the single best gift was actually getting the call to be on Deep Space Nine, which happened on my birthday.
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
it was kind of crazy. Yeah, it was
Where's
kind of
Matt?
crazy. So I auditioned for it, obviously sometime in like July or late July. But the actual phone call came the night of my birthday, and I remember the night because my mom said somebody's on the phone, wants to talk to you, and at that time I was 12, and nobody called the house phone to talk to me at all. So
Oh, cutest story ever.
I was thinking, whoa, somebody wants to talk to me.
Is it a girl?
Yeah. No, it was Rick Berman, actually. He was my first phone call. So I could tell by my mom's voice that she was excited, and they obviously talked to her first, and then she said, they want to talk to you. And so I got on the phone, talked to Rick, and he said, welcome aboard, something to that effect, we could love to have you on board. And it was really crazy because I didn't realize the long-term impact of that moment and how it would just change my life so dramatically. But just the excitement in my mom's voice and just getting the opportunity is like probably it's very difficult to top that birthday moment. And I remember too that it was at nighttime, so it was like my whole day was celebrated. I already went to the gifts, I already did all that. It was almost almost bedtime.
Wow.
And it was like the last little big present that was waiting for me. So it was pretty awesome.
Wow, that's amazing. He should have called and said like permission granted or something like that,
Yeah. Then they would have said, no, there's nothing going on. Is this Will Wheaton? Sorry.
Did you even have any idea that it was going to be something big, or did you think it was going to be like moderately big? Maybe it's a year or two. I mean, obviously you had no idea it would be like a lifelong, and a life-changing thing, but did you have any idea?
Had no idea whatsoever. I didn't even know at that point what a series really was. Like that it was a long-term kind of a commitment. I was thinking more of like, well, the pilot episode being like a 2-part episode type pilot, so I thought of it more like a movie or a one-time job at that moment. I wasn't thinking of it being the first episode in a long line of episodes. So I was really looking at it as just the emissary. Oh, I got the job. I'm going to be doing this emissary. It's like a movie. And I had done other like acting gigs where they were one-offs, whether it's 1 or 2 days worth of work, but it starts and it stops. But this was kind of like the first time I would get into something that would be ongoing and reoccurring. So I had no idea. No idea.
Wow, that's awesome. So
It's a good thing you didn't get that Mike Tyson cameo, because that wouldn't have topped Rick Berman.
It's a very good thing.
There's next year.
Yeah. I'm staying away from Mike Tyson. I think I pissed him off enough in life.
Well, unless you stole his tiger, I think you're okay.
Yeah. Well, I did try to go after something that belonged to him.
Now that sounds like an interesting story.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an accident, complete accident, and I had no idea because he was actually in the passenger seat of the car. I told the story, but
Yeah,
he
it's
was
on
in
if memory serves. I looked it up the other day. Cause it's
Oh,
He was the
okay.
passenger side of his best friend's ride trying to holler at you, right?
Yeah.
So you were a scrub.
No, I actually was in my car. She was in her car, or I guess his car. But
So he was the scrub.
Well, I won't say that. I won't say that. I will say
I'm
he
kind of
wasn't
afraid that I did now.
I will say he wasn't driving, and the window was open. I started talking to her, and then next thing I know, I just see the chair start to come out of its reclined position, and Mike Tyson looking at me like he wanted to take my head off. So
He's like, "Hey, you want to go?
Yeah.
You want to go?"
No. I literally ran the stop sign to get out of there. I ran the red light to get the hell out of there. I said, I'm out of here. No way.
You see, Eve England, Mike Tyson is a boxer, and The Scrubs is a song. So she's like, I know who the boxer is. No, but we were referencing a song. So the end of the story, Cirroc, did he end up taking off your head?
No.
Oh.
No, he didn't. No. Thank God. And I got the hell out of Dodge before any of that could happen. And I actually we used to tease each other back when Mike Tyson was knocking everybody out. We would say, would you rather get hit by a fastball? And at that time, it was Nolan Ryan. So would you rather get hit by a fastball from a pitcher or get hit by a punch from Mike Tyson?
Fastball.
And I think generally anybody would say they'd rather get hit by that fastball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. No doubt.
Yeah. So, I made a nice shoulder hit, but I think I'd take the fastball on the shoulder than Mike Tyson.
Okay. That was a pitcher, by the way. This is baseball talk. I think he used to pitch as fast as 99 miles per hour, which is like, 1,000 kilometers per hour or something. It's like 160 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got a couple minutes left. Let's do a quick around the table about your favorite Jake moment ever in celebration of Cirroc's birthday.
Oh,
I know. TJ, do you have a favorite Jake Sisko moment?
Does all of them? Does that count?
Think so.
No. Come back to me. I'll promise to have a good one.
Who sang that song, Come Back to Me? Janet Jackson? Is that who it was?
Yes.
All right. Anyway, Homer, what about you?
Eve,
Yep.
Janet Jackson is Michael Jackson.
No, we're just going to keep... We're talking about baseball. We're talking about TLC, Janet Jackson, boxing.
Since we're pointing out the obvious, let me point that out.
Sorry, go ahead, Homer.
Yeah, sure. So TLC did Scrubs because I don't know that song.
Yes.
TJ wants to sing one line of it.
That is not going to happen.
Oh.
Everyone's disappointed. My favorite,
Not the first time.
My favorite at the moment is when he is out and he is sort of tucked away somewhere, starting to teach Nog to read. And that he's doing that and other people don't know about it. So it's not like he's doing it to get any credit or anything about that. He's doing it because Nog is his friend and he needs that help.
It's a great one. It's one of my favorites for sure. Tim Baum.
I gotta say, Cirroc chasing around Nana in that episode. Maurice, I love you. Maurice.
Oh,
You want to go out with me?
Yeah. It's like, I'm in love with an older woman. Who? You.
Oh.
Oh, you're talking about Jake. Okay.
Yeah. No. Hold on.
Okay. I didn't want that out there.
Jake chasing Kira.
Kira. Yeah.
Got it. What about you, Anne-Marie?
Oh my God, there's so many. I think like from immediately when we see you fishing in episode 1,
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
then we love you for forever. Also, I forgot to say, you're amazing in Alone Together, like on Sid City with
Oh,
Sid.
thank you.
So good.
Awesome. Really good.
Yeah. So like
Oh,
the,
that's
the
awesome.
amazing moments are still coming.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I remember
Great
that
answer.
fishing. That's the first and only time I've ever been fishing. Was
So
that
cute.
episode.
From like that moment on, I was like, oh man, there's like a cool kid on Star Trek, and it's because that was never Wesley.
Well,
Thank you.
Eve, any thoughts on this? A favorite Jake moment?
Well, I'm gonna go with rather than there are obviously some great episodes of The Visitors, fantastic sort of Jake bits, but I'm gonna have to go with the fact that he has given us so much to talk about and to enjoy in terms of his outfits.
You're
It
the
sounded like a
best.
compliment, and then like,
Onesie.
Oh gosh, I still have the TV guide where they voted me worst dressed.
Oh.
And people were bringing it to school and like literally holding it up in my face, and I had to keep explaining to them that it wasn't my choice. Like these outfits weren't.
Well, why
Like, I
did you choose to wear that then?
Why'd you wear that then?
The funny thing is that like 25 years ago, what was TV Guide's worst dressed in 1995 is 2020's best dressed. Now we look back and we're like, these are the coolest things. Like we love it. It's like, give it 20 years. It just needed to ripen a little bit more.
Also, like, so gross. Who are the people writing like nasty things about kids in their stories and TV Guide? Like, what is wrong with humans?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like literally clothes shaming kids.
Yeah.
You know.
It's out of control how horrible that is.
Yeah.
Let's
I
write
did
them.
like it. Yeah, I was up there. It was me, Urkel, and somebody else, and you never want to be in a category with
Yeah.
Urkel.
It's probably like Joey. What was that show? That Joey show, or was it Blossom?
Blossom?
Yeah.
Wasn't that Blossom? Joey Lawrence?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. Actually, Blossom's dad was my drama coach and drama teacher in junior high school.
No way.
Yeah, her name is Mayim Bialik,
Mhm.
and her dad is Mr. Bialik, which was my teacher.
Wow.
And so he would bring her in like every once in a while, just to prove that was his daughter and that and that his acting coaching really works. So I believed him, and it worked for me too. So thanks to Mr. Bialik, Mayim's dad.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There was also a reference on Family Guy. Actually, you know what? That's not right for the air. We'll say that off the air. That is not. There was a little joke made. It wasn't about the character Blossom, but anyway. Also, real quick, I forgot that I should have said something about the Star Trek gift, only because I can't really think of a birthday thing, but because it's relevant that a few days ago, I think it was Trek Core posted a picture of how they're getting ready to watch the new Lower Decks premiere, and they had some of their Star Trek figures sitting down and facing the screen, so we're seeing the back, almost like we're watching a theater, and there's like the back of the characters. And one of them I saw, there was like, this character, that character, and you're just seeing their backs. But one of them I could see was like a little white bald head with the blue uniform. And so, of course, I recognized that immediately. I was like, whoa, that's Picard and Tapestry. So that was my comment. I was like, that's so cool. I had no idea there was a Picard and Tapestry, toy or whatever, because he was just in like two scenes of one
seconds.
episode, but it was such a great episode and such a poignant scene. It was so powerful. I really liked it.
Yes.
And then the next day, I get a message from our friend, Mr. Casey Shafsky, who is a co-producer on Star Trek Continues. And he's kind of all around fandom. You see him at Star Trek Las Vegas. Great guy, good friend. And he's like, what's your address? So I told him, and he was like, and he sends me a screenshot that he, I guess, saw that comment, found the toy online, and is mailing it to me. He's like, it's arriving August 11th. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then, so then I left another comment on TrekCore saying, oh man, I wish I had $1 million, you guys. Darn it. So we'll see what happens.
In the mail.
Good luck.
Anyway,
Good luck with that.
So shout out to Casey Shafsky. That's really cool, really thoughtful. Really
Nice.
appreciate that. Yeah, it's cool. So starting next week, I'll have it like floating behind me or something. Loser Picard that taught us that lesson not to be a loser. Anyway.
I have, I've got my Jake moment.
Oh, good.
And it comes with the story like always. So my favorite Jake moment is the episode, I don't remember the name of the episode, where he finds himself in the middle of a ground battle. And he's like in a cave trying to run from these Jem'Hadar, I think it was.
Right, it was the one right before that, the Siege one, right? The Siege on SR-72 or 71, whatever.
SR-71.
I think he's running from Klingons, I want to say.
AR-558.
Yeah,
it's
sticking with SR-71.
SR-71 is a Blackbird. I think it's a military.
Yeah. But I love that episode because of just the feelings that was in it. And I like, the fact that, Jake at that moment was just kind of unsure of, whether or not, he was cut out for this soldier routine and being in a battle zone. And I mean, he's not a Starfleet guy, so he's not really sure what to do, but he's doing the best he can. And so I just really enjoyed, that performance and the emotions that came through the TV, with that kind of, being afraid and not really prepared for that situation, but still being able to deal with it.
Yeah, I remember that episode. It was Nor the Battle to the Strong, I think is the name of it. And we filmed that in the desert. And I have some really cool pictures that I still have to this day, actual Polaroids of the day when makeup was taking pictures and wardrobe takes pictures. Sometimes they would give them to me. Wow. And I still have the Polaroid of that day. And you could just tell that I was so exhausted from the heat and irritated by the clothes, and I had all this blood on my face and, dust and dirt. And I still have that photo. It reminds me of the feelings. But that episode particularly dealt with being, the idea of cowardice and heroism and
yeah, I wasn't going to use the C word.
Yeah, but it was a good thing because sometimes the lines are blurred on those things, and people are sometimes look to be heroes when they were just trying to protect their own life. And
nobody knows until they're in the heat of the moment, and that's what I got from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim
Plus,
could
when
tell
you're
us something about that too.
Well, yeah, Tim. That's
it's honestly the first time you get shot at, it's kind of a surreal experience. It's like, did that just happen? But yeah, you honestly, no matter how much you train, you don't know how you're going to react until it actually happens. And still remember most of it. That's one of the problems. But yeah, I really did like that episode because it did point out, it's like, am I a coward wanting to live to fight another day, or so?
And does that thing activates in you something? I mean, once you have the moment of realization, aren't you activated into this instinctual mode of? Yeah,
you are. In fact, sometimes the instincts when I hear firecrackers go off, if I don't know they're going off. But yeah, it's like all of a sudden the adrenaline surges, and it's almost like things are in slow motion. But fortunately, I came out of it relatively unscathed. So most of us did in our unit. So But yeah, it is a surreal experience. Plus the fact that after 8 or 9 months of it, you become blasé to it. It's like, you know, you hear a rocket go off, you're going, oh, just wake me if another one hits. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. That's great.
All right. Well, I think we'll leave it right there. We'll end it on a positive note like that.
Hey, the positive note is to live to fight another day.
Right.
And to
Yes,
have
it
the
is.
voice-
Yes.
The voice to talk about your experiences and share the memories with people. That's the important part.
Mhm.
Since I was older than everybody, somebody got me a T-shirt when I got back that said, "In a profession where men die young, beware of the old man."
Nice.
So
You've been there, done that.
Yeah, and I've made it through, and still waiting for the official retirement letter. But
When you get it, bring it on the show with us.
oh, I will. I'll put it as my background.
Yes.
Yeah.
Baum is ordered to the Fleet Reserve, effective immediately. So
Nice.
Very
Cool. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for joining us. For Tim Baum, Eve England, Homer Frizzell, and Marie Segal, TJ Jackson-Bey, Cirroc Lofton, the superstar in the sky, Aron Eisenberg. Thank you all for joining us. And always, there he is. TJ is giving him love.
Yes.
Always remember the 7th rule.